order the Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District Board of Directors meeting. This is our 1432nd Board of Directors regular meeting. So we will start with the pledge of allegiance. John,
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we move to our next item, we do have a request by Chair Carhart to attend the meeting virtually under the quote just clause provision of the Brown Act. We need a motion to approve this request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now we will begin with the roll call. Yes, Chair Carhart.
Here.
Vice Chair Tamani. Here. Director Irwin.
Here.
Director Mount.
Here.
Director O'Farrell.
Here.
All present. Thank you. Next, we have presentations. Item 4.1, presentation of USA Softball Sacramento. And this is for the GSSA 2024 Public Agency Grant.
Hello, my name is David Keene. I'm the recreation supervisor for the district. Today I have the great pleasure to introduce and have tomorrow USA Softball of Sacramento. They graciously granted us a grant to help improve our field conditions at our softball fields. So for our fields at Fair Oaks Park as well as La Vista, it's going to go a long way to help offset the cost and improve the quality and conditions there and really improve the experience for our players. So without further ado, I have Jeff Morrow.
Thanks, David. Good evening. My name is Jeff Morrow, and I'm the Commissioner, CEO of the Greater Sacramento Softball Association. We do business as USA Softball Sacramento. And we are a grassroots organization that works with all of our member agencies throughout the Greater Sacramento softball area to provide tournaments for both youth and adults. We are one of 63 associations throughout the United States of associations that are affiliated with USA Softball. And out of the 63 associations, we're actually, even though we're small in size, we're one of the largest in numbers in total team registrations, the youth and adult programs. USA Softball is the pipeline to the national softball team program. So the 2028 Olympics that will be held in Los Angeles will be one of the next events for the U.S. Women's Olympic softball team to take part in that event. So we're looking forward to that. Currently, the Greater Sacramento Softball Association registers about almost 10,000 kids and coaches and almost 1,000 adult teams throughout our Sacramento area. Our region includes Winters and Gibson to the west, South Lake Tahoe and Truckee to the east, Woodland to the north, and Lodi to the south. So that's kind of our geographical region. Overall, we touch 7 different counties working with local softball and adult softball organizations. As commissioner, I get to deal with a lot of fun things and also not so fun things, but tonight's one of those fun things, and that's be able to help one of our local member agencies with a hand up to help with revitalizing some of the softball facilities. And so tonight we're here to award Fair Oaks Rec and Park District a $2,500 grant to assist with some renovations to the softball fields at Fair Oaks Park as well as La Vista, the field for Victor. So we have this little check. So I don't know if you have time to take a picture with this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
Want to hold it? I think you.
There you go.
Can we get Ralph, you know, the video?
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Jeff, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we will move on to item number 5. For audience, public comment on non-agenda items. Any person may address the board upon any subject within the jurisdiction of the Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Any matter requiring board action will be referred to staff or committee for report and action at a specific meeting. Tonight, we have one public comment from Terry Foreman. So if you could please stand at the podium. Thank you.
That's me. Hi, excuse me, Terry Borman, and I live at 4141 Temescal, so I face the project in the park. And I just came over to say to you guys what we are saying behind your back, a lot of us, all the time now. And that is, oh, wait a minute, I was going to start with this, but I have to start with the positive thing. Maya Angelou, what you're supposed to do when you don't like a thing is change it. Can't change it, change the way you think about it. Don't complain. So I really tried to think about that, but really my complaint is the, okay, so I went to Kaiser yesterday and they're yet again putting up another building on the corner. You know what, that building will be up and operating in months. You know, it will be full medical supplies, everything will be working in months. I think where I'm going here. I've been looking at that from my front yard for how many years now? And the thing that's really starting to get us that we're talking about is I see 1, 2 construction workers out there every day. I see a ton of equipment out there. Does that belong to Bobo? Does that belong to who? There's a ton of equipment out there. It's just parked there. Weeds grow this high. We have to cut them down. So that's what we see. We voted for you guys. We pay. I don't want to be involved in this. I'm not going to stay and talk about it or anything. I just want you guys to know that that's what I look at every day. That's what my friends and neighbors talk about. And if, you know what, if it was my front yard that had all that parked in it, I guarantee you the county nuisance people would be out to see me. How does this get to keep happening? How does this go on like this? And by the way, county nuisance knows of us. I'm sure they're ignoring the property. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I just want you guys to know that whatever is happening in the construction timeline, it doesn't seem right that Kaiser and all these other commercial buildings can put their stuff up in months. Housing developments are built, and we're still sitting there looking at weeds and piles of dirt for maybe the rest of my lifetime, right? So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, it was a complaint. Maya should not to do that.
Okay, we will move to item number 6, the consent calendar. Do we have a motion for the consent calendar?
Move to approve. Second.
Are there any questions or comments on the items included in the consent calendar?
Nope.
Okay, hearing that there are none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll move to item number 7, new business. Item 7.1, monthly Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board.
Hi, I'm Nadia, and I'm the chair of FOIAD. Our last meeting of the term was held last Tuesday. We ate food, played Foursquare a lot, and did our last updates of the term. This year, FOIAD had 16 members, with 10 of those members being seniors, and 12 of the 16 being returning members. All members combined have a total of 293 volunteer hours, accumulated through 5 Fair Oaks Parks and District events, and 9 meetings, not including hours put into our monthly service projects. I'm so proud of what FOIAD has done this year, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for FOIAD. as for me, after 6 years in FOIA, 1 year as vice chair, and 2 years as chair, this is my last board meeting and event as FOIA chair. I've been reporting to the board for 2 years, and I'm so grateful for what these board meetings have taught me and the Sparrow's knowledge I've gained, so thank you. Now, I'd like to introduce you to the new incoming chair for FOIA, which is Matthew.
Thank you, Nadia. First things first, I want to say thank you to Mary and Nadia for making my first year at FOIA an amazing time, and I really enjoyed it. And it's why I chose to run this position, because I really like what we all do here, and I want to keep going. And so I am a junior at Bella Vista High School, and as I said, this will be my first year, and I'm going to my second year. So my first year as chair. And I'm really excited to meet all of you, and I met some of you at the last meeting I was at, and I just want to say thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome to the team. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you've done, Nadia.
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
exactly. Is that UCB?
Yes, I'll be enjoying
Love
that.
the shirt, the sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. We'll move to item 7.2, discussion and possible action regarding approval of the amphitheater seating proposal.
Good evening, board. Mike Otto, District Administrator. I'm coming up here today. Usually I present from my seated spot there, but this is a large item, and I want to make certain that I have a Zoom presence as well as a better presentation opportunity to do. What we're going to be asking for today is an authorization to sign the documents to start the renovation projects in the seating area in the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater, which is part of the Village Plaza renovation project. This project is currently estimated to cost $904,935. We're also asking from the board which preferred funding method that you would like us to bring back to you if you so choose to go forward with the renovation of the seating. So it's kind of a twofold. One is the item, and the second is a directive item, and you will have more action items related to the funding at a later meeting. So for a background of this project or this request, the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater, as you know, is a historic and popular venue for outdoor events. As part of our renovation project, we wanted to really improve the park facilities and amenities, and the amphitheater was scheduled for a major upgrade. The original design of the renovation, which included the landscaping, lighting, sound, stage, restrooms, dressing rooms, all for the amphitheater, but did not include the replacement of the seating. The reason being for that, and hindsight's wonderful, but we had decided, and this was a collective decision, that at this point in time, financially, it wasn't going to fit within the scope of the work, and that we could revisit this at a later time. It was an excellent opportunity for phasing in later. If the project came in under budget, if we had additional funds, whatever the case may be. The original design only planned to add 2 sections of ADA compliant seating for the seating area. So there was an ADA component in there, but it was for 2 small areas. So that's an important consideration here. It also became apparent during our construction that the old seating would not match the new style and quality of the renovated amphitheater, and that the expected increase that replacing the seating later would be more difficult and costly. And what that means from our point of view, and I think you'll understand this, is that we've started buttoning up that facility already. It is now impossible without deconstructing to get heavy equipment into the amphitheater seating area. So we cannot get any kind of backhoe, we cannot get any kind of truck, we cannot get any kind of concrete truck, we cannot get anything that we have to compact the concrete in that is larger than a standard little Bobcat. So it now is constrained site. It'll be even more constrained as we go forward. So that's a couple of critical things there. It's also going to cost us more money if we decided to wait on this. Materials, labor, and mobilization and all those other things that are associated with contracting will all come back and we'll have to pay for that later. So we know what's going on with inflation, with labor rates, things like that. It will not become more affordable later. It will be more expensive, and it will have to be done at some point in time. No question that we have to come into full compliance with ADA. So now, as we touch all of the seating, we need to come into full compliance, which means the regrading of the area inside the amphitheater to meet ADA requirements and county requirements. The other requirements we have to meet is the seating and the aisle lighting that is now going to be necessary for the renovation. That would happen regardless, that we would have to do those things. So the problem for us right now is that the board needs to address how to fund this if they decide to do it. We don't have the money in Measure J. We have overspent in Measure J for a variety of reasons. We've been talking about that in the board meetings, so you're aware of that. But some of that is utility work, weather, increased cost of materials, labor, things like that that are part of this, including scope things like the foundation of the clubhouse where we did the water intrusion fix. So we've had other components within this project that have come up that have taken care of some of those some of the funds that we had as a cushion. We have identified the funds necessary to cover this overage, primarily through impact fees and in lieu fees. As you're aware of, we've applied also for Omni Vera and Senator Padilla's, Congressman Omni Vera and Senator Padilla's appropriation funds. That's for $1.2 million. Those are for ADA improvements coming into the park and into the village. Now, if we do get those funds, we'll be able to reallocate Measure J funds to other components of the project, like the overage, which then allows us to retain our impact fees and in lieu fees other projects. It's a chance that we will get those funds, but not a guarantee. So we have to hold that guarantee in place, which is the impact fees and in lieu. And then if we do get the Padilla and Vera money, we will not get that until later in 2025 because of the cycle for funding. So it's going to be a slow process if that funds come available. So we don't immediately know if we're going to get it, and we immediately don't know if we can reallocate the funds to cover the amphitheater seating. So with that being said, we had to come up with some options for it. And I present two options to you tonight for the potential funding. Again, I'm not asking you to decide for funding tonight. I'm going to only ask you if you agree to do the renovation or direction. We'll talk about renovation in a minute, but funding, has to be key. How do we pay for this darn thing? And so one of them is the direct loan. And let's go ahead, if you could, and put up the pros and cons sheets of the loan. And this is called a real property direct placement lease. It's secured with the district office. So that's how we're going to secure the loan. This option would be a loan for $1.275 million. So it's over the amount that you see on the budget. And I'll explain why some of that's important as well as we go forward here. And this is just a preliminary. So if the board were to come back and say, Mike, we would like you to do the loan, but we only want to do it for $975, for an example, then this will be a changed figure. But I put it at $1.2 million. 75 is the loan origination fee. And so here's the pros for that. We get the money fairly quickly. We can get it by July. So it's not going to impact our overall cash flow for this project. It can be used, use this fund for other purposes, and I'll discuss that in a bit. And it can cover, sorry, I'm going to have to go over and read that. It can cover the seating costs until appropriation money is awarded and funds available. So we can shift basically the funds from the appropriation funds. So if we have to take a loan, we get the Padilla money, we can immediately pay off the loan. But we will be saddled with, on the negative, the third one down, with $75,000 in fees, loan initiation or origination fees. And there's no extra penalty for early repayment except for those loan costs that are rolled into the overall loan. So we don't have any extra costs for that. The cons for this is a 20-year loan. That's a long time. It's $103,384 a year in payments. All right, and so, as I mentioned, $75,000 in the fees for the $1.2 million, so we'd have to pay that, $75,000 additional if we paid early. And the total interest over 20 years is, cost of the loan is over $2 million. So some negatives there. Obviously, that is the challenge. Let's go on to the other one. Cell tower system. This one, at least to me, is a very solid option. We have a consultant that we've utilized for our cell tower work, and he's done an incredible job for us. Trust him all the way with everything that he's ever done for us. He has garnished additional funds in our leases, negotiated the renegotiations for the leases, done an incredible job for us. He says that we can expect to get between $1.5 million and $2.1 million for the sale of those leases. We can access those funds relatively quickly, August, September, by the time the deal closes. There's no restriction on the use of those funds. It's more funds than we will need for the seeding. Now, here's the thing about the extra funding that I talked about earlier. Opportunities to place extra funds into interest-earning fund that then can be used for other revenue-producing activities that are yet to be determined, but possible options are to help create a request for proposal for a public-private partnership, which would be like a concessionaire inside the amphitheater. So it allows us some funds to create that opportunity for additional revenue for this facility. It also could be used for a public-private partnership, possibly preparation for the old library, McMillan Center, maybe the commercial kitchens in the clubhouse, and as I mentioned, the concessions in the new facility. The other part about that, and let's just say that we got a 1.5 million, and it was just around $1 million for the seating renovation. Let's just use those figures as they're used. That gives us $500,000 to be able to purchase items for our project upon completion, which includes things like lobby furniture. We are not allowed to use Measure J funds for items that are not attached to the building. So unless they're attached to the building and integral to the operation of the facility, we cannot get those. For an example, if we needed a desk, we cannot get that with Measure J funds. We're looking into the probability of microphones and things like that. I believe they'll be covered. We're still waiting for a ruling, but they may not be. And we're talking about approximately $500,000 in some of those ancillary electronic devices that are not attached to the building. So whether it be cords, whether it be mic stands, whether it be things like that, remote cameras like this one here. So those things may be non-fundable through Measure J. I don't know 100% yet. We're still waiting on that answer. But we are preparing for it not to be allowed regardless, because they're items that we need, and this would be one way of doing it. So it allows us to do that. Now, if we had beyond that, let's just say we go to 1.5 million like that, but we receive $2 million for the sale of the cell towers, we then have $500,000. We have found out that we can invest those funds in interest-bearing accounts, as we had done with the Measure J account. We received $1.5 million in interest by the way we invested and actively moved money around with the Measure J funds. So we created an additional $1.5 million with Measure J funds. This money could be invested the same way in the long term. So it could be stuck there and be used later. We could add to it if necessary. It creates a cushion for us in that long term. It also then, on the cons, I believe I got everything right on the pros. Let me see if I got them all. Another pro, which is also a con for us right now, we're uncertain about the longevity for cell towers. There's still talk about, will they disappear because of satellites? Will they be as many? There's no certainty in the industry or anywhere else. If anybody's telling you that they're gone or they're going to stay, they're not correct. Nobody is certain. Things change rapidly, and they'll continue to change over time. So anyway, there's some uncertainty there. Doesn't mean they're going away. If we get the grant funds for the ADA work, again, the PADIA funds and the VERA funds, the reallocated funds for Measure J could be used for Measure J projects like Phoenix Park, La Vista, Pickleball. So it frees up some additional monies if we get the PADIA money to do more Measure J work. All right, does that make any sense? That one's a little complicated, but it's a, if this happens, then that happens type of thing. Let's go on to the cons then. So the cons, we're gonna lose, we pay about 4,000 in closing fees. So it's a 5% in closing fees, to the broker for this project and for him to market it out there to the carriers, that are interested in buying. It is, excuse me, that's, we pay 5% of sale price to the broker. 4% is the closing cost, the closing cost to sell the tower. 5% for the broker. We're also going to lose an annual income of about $90,000 plus a 3% increase per year from our cell tower rent. So that's a revenue loss to us if we sell those towers. In 16 years, using the escalator, we would receive an estimated $1.85 million on the leases. So if we sell those towers for $1.85 million, it would take us 16 years with the escalation to receive that much money. So in lost revenue, yes, in 17 years, we would lose money. But if we invest the money, and if we pay for things like the concessionaire, and we get the concessionaire going, and it's making us money, then potentially we come out ahead. I can't guarantee ahead, but what I can do is say this has options going ahead that we normally wouldn't be able to do, and that a loan doesn't provide us.
So
Yeah,
so we put them on the market. Who is the likely buyer?
that I do not know,
So how do we know we can sell
because our broker is a seller of cell towers. These days. I am not in the industry. I can't even tell you one entity. He did tell me this, and let me clear that up. Some of these are in portfolios. So they're part of a larger portfolio. And that's what he mentioned. Depending on who buys it, that's why that range is so high. So it could be a portfolio, it could be an individual investor, it could be a number of things. So
Have we contacted them, let them know of potential interest in
selling
these towers?
to our broker, yes.
When was that told?
That was a week ago, week and a half ago. Him and I talked.
And what was their feeling
But his feeling, he's excited to take the project.
to have,
And-
are they here to talk about any potential of timeline or?
That was the timeline they gave. Yeah, the July, August, it was the month frame, July, August, July, August, September, whatever it was. August, September. So it would move relatively quickly. Now, no guarantee on the sale. You know, don't get me wrong. He's excited about it. He thinks it could sell. But you know, there's no guarantee. So that loan is, you know, still sitting there as a potential option if we had to take it. So, but confidence level is there. And again, going forward with this project, you will have to agree to the sale agreement. You'll have to agree to the broker agreement first, then the sale agreement, if it does sell. So you're still going to see this again if we go that route. There's no way around. So.
Say, Mike, if we were to receive the Padilla and Bera money, would that be available to fund the seeding?
No, it's very specific because it's HUD money. It's very specific to the projects it's applied for, and that's ADA.
But would it free up other bond money to do this or no?
Yes, it could. Yes, it could. The problem with it is timing. The Padilla money, we could be awarded it potentially sometime, I'm guessing, and it's not on their websites yet, they haven't given us time frame, but maybe November that we'll see a notification. And then the funds still are not available until later in the fiscal year, because they are for fiscal year 2025.
But Mike, isn't the major component of seeding grading for ADA and making sure
Yes.
that it's, you know,
Yes.
it's walkable and,
Yes.
and carpable and
Yes.
so can some of it be used for
No.
that?
No, and we went specifically to that question to the Padilla's office, because originally we were going to apply for these funds for the amphitheater because of that.
Okay.
And the reason, even in their description of what's not allowable, amphitheaters, it's right on the thing. No funding of amphitheaters. And part of that has to do with how they want to fund the current approach in the House and Senate primarily is not for recreational purposes. So they aren't going to.
Did you look at any options of like selling assets that actually cost us money, like to maintain, like old library, things like that?
There are things that we could sell. Yes, there is, but the time to do that, because of the requirements for selling public or surplusing public property, you can't just put it on the market. So it has to go out to a public offering if you're going to surplus property. And that public offering right now, any public entity has the right to basically buy it from us first before any public can. And even before them, it goes out to low-income housing opportunities. So if we were to surplus any public property, we have to follow those procedures for first.
If they're going to move low income into the library, but
Yeah, right. It may not, nobody's going to buy, no low-income properties in the library. You're absolutely correct. But with a public entity, don't know. And then we can finally go out to
that should be an option down the road if we were to take a loan option and not, get rid of actual assets that make us money.
yes.
And if we were to sell that, say 2 years from now, that could help pay down that
Yes,
loan.
yes,
Could be an option.
yes.
Like, does that rule only apply to real property? Because a lease is property, it's just intangible property.
A lease property.
Because a lease, we own the lease, it's still property, it's just not like real property, like physical building, it's
We're selling the lease, not the property.
yeah, but a lease is property. It's just, because you own the lease, you own the contract.
Okay, and I'll have to get a legal ruling, but my understanding of our lease agreement as I read the lease agreement, it even says we still own the property.
Well, yes, we own the underlying, like the ground,
Yes,
but I'm talking about the
So we do
contract.
not own the,
But the lease
Yeah.
is, yes, but the lease is an asset to the first district. And so,
I
would double
obviously,
check that, just
I've got to get a legal
Yeah.
opinion on that, which I haven't done, because I do need authority to be able to do that. But I need to get a legal opinion, but, this is not uncommon practice. It's probably the best answer I can. So if public entities do sell their towers now, their lease towers. Now, I'm not sure in California, I just know from a broader perspective by following the industry. So I didn't pay attention if it was California or Wisconsin.
So Mike, I really appreciated your discussion of timing. Having been involved in a lot of construction, the timing is critical to get in there and do this before we button everything up and get sidewalks and fences and other stuff in there, as well as the fact that if we come in later, we delay the availability for rentals and use of the facility, plus the cost and difficulty of getting another contractor in there, and the anticipated increase in prices. So I think, at least in my opinion, I think your first question as to whether we should give you authority to start the paperwork to do this, to me, that's kind of necessary, because otherwise we just basically are committing ourselves to sticking with the crappy seats we've got.
Yes, I mean, if we go forward, if you all decide to go forward, fiscally we're in. You could stop it at a point, but you'd be stopping and then trying to figure out how to restart it. So once you all commit, we're committed.
Now, as far as the prices you put in here, Bobo is aware, and they've given you kind of a change order cost for this.
It's a ROM is what you have, a rough, something magnitude, rough, something. Anyway, basically it's as close to a ballpark as they can without construction documents. Construction documents, and I think Dave is here from ICS and can kind of talk to that a little bit better.
So I think Tim is here also, and I guess a lot of this depends on how firm our estimates are. That could affect things.
Dave? Or-
Yeah, that price that we went out, we asked Bobo just to give us a rough order of magnitude based on just conceptual drawings that WMB, the architect, was able to produce in a short amount of time. And WMB is currently working on construction grade documents, which would then allow Bobo to give us a detailed construction estimate. The ROM, rough order of magnitude, is what that is. It includes probably worst case scenarios. And like Mike alluded to earlier, a lot of that is because we've got a brand new building there that wasn't there before, and now we got to be very careful. But the access points is what the main obstacle is when you're talking about demolition of all the seats, the asphalt underground, and moving dirt in and out just to get started. And the way I forget who put it this way, it might have been Tim, it might have been Juan at Bobo, but it's akin to working through a straw as opposed to working through a cup or bowl opening. Had we done this before the building started, like you say, Ralph, it'd have been easy to get large pieces of equipment in there to do the demo, to do the haul off, to do the grading, the compacting, and then placing the concrete. And that would have been done in conjunction with likely the concrete of the building itself. Having to do it now, we have to be very careful with all the work that we already have in place, not to damage what we've got. And then working through those smaller openings is going to be challenging.
So I presume most of the access would be between the restrooms and the snack bar there, that narrow little spot.
We only have those two openings now.
That and up over the up between the arts and crafts building, huh?
Yeah, and even to boot, in order to place the concrete, we would likely have to use a long pump truck and go up and over to pump the concrete into the space. And the concrete, from what little I understand so far about how the structural concrete is going to be designed, and Tim and Juan could talk to this better than I, is it's not just once we get graded to just fill the thing with concrete. It has to be done in stages because of the slopes, because of the angles that we have to meet. So it's a little bit more complex than just laying a full slab.
So speaking of the slopes and the angles, I see no designs, and you had mentioned that there was some basis of design that the architect gave. I see nothing in our presentation about any design.
No, it was on past the board report, the one design document we do that.
So I think Tim is online. My question has always been, in order to get the lesser slope in the seating area, would that elevate the seats towards the stage rather than depress the ones in the back? I think that seems to be the only way to do it, huh?
Good evening, board. This is Tim Mathias. Ralph, the slopes right now that are existing are about 11 to 13% grade, and we have a maximum by building code of 10% that's allowable. So those grades all need to be changed. We would need to be bringing or removing the asphalt out of that area anyway to attach the seats to give them a secure foundation. So that center area, that whole area comes down about 10 inches, about 5 inches or about 9 inches for 5 inches for the concrete and 4 inches for aggregate base cushion that the concrete sits on. So the slope will be a little bit more gradual in the center, but the upper level and the lower level are essentially remaining the same.
Yeah, so the way I would look at it, up by the restrooms and the snack bar, you're fixed at that grade. So in order to get a lesser grade going down towards the stage, that means the finished floor is going to be a little higher. Is that 10 inches higher down by the stage?
It's actually, we lowered the stage apron a little bit. So it is essentially 1% slope along the stage apron, and then it's about 9 to 9.5% slope up the aisles. And then there's a little more slope on the upper concourse than you have right now.
I see.
Is this all that, what I'm looking at, what I'm looking at, is that all that Bobo has been given to base this project on?
That's all that we had to just give you a ROM just to get started, yes.
So this is what, Tim, your team created?
So the theatrical consultant, this was about a week and a half into the decision to replace the seating. So the theatrical consultant came up with the layout that you're seeing on the screen of the seating and the slopes. And we have been dialing in all of the grade elevation requirements to match the existing grades as well as comply with current code. And the construction document should be complete about this time next week.
When you say the slopes, can you tell me what I should be looking at to show me clearly the sloping on this entire diagram?
Well, let's see. Can I point or share?
Sure.
I don't know.
To describe it in words, basically, do you start the slope at the edge of the restrooms and snack bar? Start the slope right there?
So the upper concourse, the upper walkway starts at the edge of the snack bar and then slopes out at about 2% to the first row of seats. And at that first row of seats, down to the curve, the other curve that is at the bottom of that aisle, that's where the, wait a minute, that's where the main slope is of the aisle. And then from that point to the stage, it slopes at about 1.5%.
What's the slope on the main seating area there? You go from 2% to what, 9%?
It's 1.5% down at the lower level and about 9 to 9.5% up the aisle to the top row.
And then you have a 2%.
And then we have about a 2% slope on the upper concourse.
Yeah.
Where are you seeing that on the list? Where am I reading that at 2%?
You can't see it on this drawing. I don't know, Tim, if you have control of the screen, but you had a cut through that shows the profile.
Yeah,
that can be shown.
I don't know.
So we have no survey, we have no site survey, right, of the current conditions, because you're saying this is, one of our consultants created this plan that again shows no elevations of any sort that you're saying. I don't see that. And we have actually no site survey that has actually been created of what we actually have. Is that correct?
No. We have all of the existing elevations of the perimeter of the site, all of the elevations that belong to the current construction of the stage. We have all the elevations around the perimeter, based on a survey that was done prior to the beginning of the construction. So those are all dialed in. We have to remove all of the existing area that's in the center and then replace it with a code compliant concrete flooring.
So why aren't we seeing a comparison of the current or what's been done before to compare to this? Why wasn't that part of this?
I'm sorry, Raymond James, I don't understand your question.
In
What-
other words, how much are we saving from the previous, putting ADA pads in there and
My question is, why are we not seeing what was done before to compare with these images that would be proposed to do? Does that make sense?
You want to see the current construction plans?
As it pertains to this specific subject, to see the difference and to see the changes.
Okay, so the replacement of the seating was never in the scope of the work, so it would simply have been an as-built condition. We did not have as-built drawings for the facility, old facility, the park, or anything. So we really didn't have that information to start with. And that's
But
why Tim,
Dave, the contract right now called for some modifications to put a couple of ADA pads in there. That was a bit of a modification.
correct, and that was very small, yes,
That
you're
had
right.
a minor cost to it. I'm not sure if this is what Raymond James is asking, but you know, what was that design, and how much savings we might get or apply towards this by not doing what we had originally planned.
Yeah, I think Raymond James then and Ralph and Dave, I haven't seen the pricing that Bobo has come up with here, but in the final analysis, we would want to see a deduct of
Right.
what has been or part of the original contract from the cost of the improvement.
So we currently had plans to have pads for ADA, right? That was part of it. So what changes with that versus this plan?
Good question.
Everything?
So can we speak more on that?
I think the big thing, Raymond James, was what the minor stuff we were doing didn't trigger the requirement to make everything ADA.
Hmm.
And so we were just going in there and doing some light ADA improvements. But once we replace the seats, we're subject to ADA and everything has to be accessible. That's one of the downsides of the law.
So
That's exactly right.
replacing all of the seats.
Triggers full ADA compliance. But like Mike said,
Well, and code compliance with the slopes that are too steep right now.
So to your question, Director Irwin, replacing all the seats, what does that mean? If you're considering doing part of them, I'm not sure what that would look like. There'll still be demo, there'll still be concrete lay, there'll still be all those other things, lighting. You're probably still going to get dinged for all the ADA improvements because of the scope of work you're doing. I can't speak 100% to that. I don't know where the line is, but I'm going to guess we're pretty darn close to it. So
When it comes, I mean, as far as even replacing the benches, top parts, if we were replacing all the top parts or whatnot, that always is going to bring in the ADA situation.
I can't answer.
So who is the one that's telling us that this is automatically creating an ADA issue for the entire project? Is that Dave?
No, that'd be the architect. He's the one that makes sure we're in compliance with ADA, building codes, the whole kit and caboodle.
So why we would, so the current in the bid plan to leave the seats, leave the benches as you're looking at now, includes adjustment to accommodate accessible seating so that you comply with accessible seating code while retaining the existing seats as your primary able-bodied seating area. So with that, we can retain the slopes because we're not changing anything, but we do comply with all of the ADA requirements for seating with your current plan. It's the seating that changes, that requires the replacement of all of the area with underneath those seats.
and the enforcement person is the state architect. Is that right, Tim?
No, it's the county building official.
Have we brought in the county on this aspect before we?
So this, what you're looking at is a part of the approved plan set, the approved permitted design. So that can go forward with no further
I'm
question.
talking about what's in our packet with this, that was part of the attachment on the seating plan, the new seating plan. Has
So
anyone brought this to confirm?
we will as part of our, as soon as we get the construction documents complete next week, we will be submitting it for permanent revision.
Why wouldn't we talk to them before we submit? That could save a lot of potential time.
Because
No, go ahead.
their reply will be, we don't work off of conceptual drawings. We need construction drawings to confirm that it meets the requirements. And it's stamped by the architect.
One thing I like about this revised plan is you've got better seating in the center section. You don't have as wide aisles either. Your wider aisles are at the far edges where this vision isn't that great to start with. So there's some improvements to that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot more better house seats here in the center.
Better use of the space.
You know, one thing, a number of years ago, we did a survey of all of our ADA deficiencies. We're handling a lot of those with this project. I mean, we're really crossing a lot off the list by the overall project. But this, if we don't do this, this still hangs out there as a future ADA need, right?
No, the current permitted stamp set, like Tim alluded to, brings you up into compliance with the current ADA path of travel, and it's the minute you touch something else triggers the requirement for that now to be code and ADA compliant.
So if we did nothing except stick with the existing plan, we don't have a liability hanging out there. Nobody can.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Place the flag.
Not that I want to do that, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Words.
Right. So this is not a plan, right? Like, this is not something that could go and be what the two things, the 2 pages, this is gonna be stamped by an architect. Like, there's no elevations on this. There's really nothing on this, right? Like, we're gonna have to pay to have something created to even be submitted to the county, correct?
Yeah,
That is correct.
And Tim's doing that right now.
We're working on it right now.
And that's what would be, what was it, $7,000 or $9,000?
That's the nice, yeah, that's in the budget, that's in this conceptual budget, and you did authorize us to go forward with that design at your last meeting. So we are doing that, and that's why that change order for $9,035 or $9,290 is there. And so it gets us to that place where we have construction documents that we could go to.
So why aren't we bidding that or asking Bobo to look at that once that's actually done? I mean, it's very hard.
The cost estimation that we needed to go forward with you on this project. We have to line up funding. We're gonna run into a time crunch without funding. And without lining up funding, I cannot stand here and recommend for us to go into a fiscal disaster. Of course, I can't do it. So.
Yeah, one final question from me, I hope it's final, is a change order to do this, will that delay the final completion date beyond January 15th?
It's possible.
And if so, what are we talking about?
We won't know that better until we get the construction drawings. We can provide an estimate, get all the subs in line, and then weave the work into the current schedule.
And let me speak a little bit to that as well. The chairs themselves on one of our manufacturers for 6 months from order, 6 months before we receive them. Now, the only good part about that, if there is a good part of silver lining, is that we're finishing in the winter and we don't need those seats.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have heavy equipment in there to install the seats.
Right.
Are the seats installed on top of the concrete pads, or do they have some kind of footing that has to go in the concrete, Tim?
They're installed on top of the concrete.
Okay. So they could be done after all the concrete work is done.
Correct.
Well, I don't know if everybody's asked all the questions they want to ask, but I'd like to propose a motion.
I-
That is,
And sorry, Rob, does obviously there was something that was gonna be done, the 2 rows of the ADA, we were previously, we included that in the budget, so is this just an increase to that? Or are we now gonna reduce, whatever that amount costs, we will not be paying that at this point, if this is gonna include everything, right?
right.
Once we get the construction drawings that are complete enough for the contractor to, again, do its takeoffs and get to its major subs for the estimate of cost. Once they work the additive costs out, we will look to them to give us the deductive cost for the work they didn't have to do under the original contract. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any thought, Dave, in your mind or idea, possibility to potentially bid this out to other contractors?
No, not really, because this is in the heart of the park. You're talking about putting 2 roosters in 1 hen house, and then we've got liability issues. We've got them interfacing. We've got one contractor interfacing to work of another contractor, which just creates a lot of issues. We would start hearing arguments about, well, I'm going to void my warranty. I'm not going to honor that because who knows what damaged what. It's just a mess. If it was kind of an outlier on the edge where we could isolate it, I would say our chances would be better, even though not crystal clear, because it's just, again, you're just mixing 2 contracts, and if the one project was done and you start the second, that's even better. But to have them going concurrently on something like this would be not practical.
I agree with you, Dave. There's really 2 options. Either it's a change order with Bobo, or you let Bobo finish it, and then
Right.
you go in there and have a separate contract.
But keep in mind, even if you did that, even if we give the work to Bobo now, they would actually leave out some of the concrete work near the entrances so that they don't damage anything running back and forth in there with mini cats and mini X's. They have to leave a path of travel for all of that, and then come back after the interior is done, and then come back and complete the contract work on the exterior.
Do we have somebody from Bobo to talk about the seat lighting pathway wiring and the cost on that?
We do. Juan is on the phone, or on the Zoom. Juan, can you speak to that?
I guess Cassini
Your connection is really poor. Can you get to a better reception, Juan? No.
Not coming through.
Yeah.
Connect, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe hang up and try again. One.
Yeah. Juan, it's still not working.
Could he phone in? Is he able to phone in
Juan, can you call in?
on the phone?
Yeah, use the phone number.
I think that's what he's doing. Well, I'm not sure.
No, he's on Zoom. Just
Yes, another
Yeah.
question. And in terms of funding options, would it be possible to do part of it through some of the funds?
I'm gonna try an audio.
Well, that's a little better. You're still breaking up a little bit, Juan.
Director Tamani's asking questions at the moment.
Either impact fees in lieu, anything that's not restricted? Do we have, because I know that we oftentimes, when there's savings at the end of the fiscal year, that money is then put into a separate account. And I know the district has been good about finding savings
Yes.
almost every fiscal year. And so that account has grown. Would that be a possibility to pay for either part of this?
right, and as I mentioned earlier, the overall project without this is going to go over budget. And we've identified approximately $838,000 potentially over budget at this moment in time. And so we are looking at impact fees and in lieu fees to try and get us to close that gap, which we can use those funds for that. It gets us there. My problem, and this is from just an operational side and just administrative side, is I want to retain those impact fees, recognizing that potentially other work still has to be done someplace that we want to do over time. I don't want to empty the cupboard if we don't have to, and try and hold on to some of those funds for those projects that still could be coming up. And if we try and rebuild those impact fees, it could take us years to rebuild. So we've got funds now for something that may come up in the foreseeable future. So we're all going to dip into those more than likely. So yes and no, yeah, we can, but I recommend it. And in terms of our reserves, best practice is 15%, I believe, of your reserves, and we're slightly right around there, Jen, do you know? Right now. So it would not be best practice to dip into them.
Understood, thank you.
While we're waiting for Juan, is it appropriate to weigh in on our opinions on how to fund it?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm one of those proponents of get rid of the cell towers before they become obsolete. So that's my preference. Plus, it gives us extra money to do other things that we wanted to do. And otherwise, it would take us 16 years to make up the difference if we sell it at the price we assume we can get.
And as I had mentioned on Director Carhart's statement there, I mentioned if we opt to reinvest, if we have more money than we need, I would highly recommend that we reinvest those funds into some interest-bearing account over time. It gives us a 10 to 15 year overlook for some potential additional funds. It would be an excellent business practice, in my opinion.
As with the surplus bond money, we can put it into, I guess it's the bank or something.
We cannot use surplus. We have to spend the bond. We're required.
So have we gotten a price on what it would be to redo the benches? Or is that just included?
No, it was never. We had looked at the wood had been, benches had been done, Sean, here, I don't think it was on here. Sean may know when that wood was put in the bench. It wasn't long before we closed, was it?
The last time the wood was replaced on those benches was probably about 8 years ago or so, I think.
So yes, they're probably due to be replaced with it. Yeah. I haven't looked at the condition of them, to be honest.
So
we have to get new planks.
New
Planks and repaint them. It's not exactly a monstrous job. Last time it was done with volunteers.
I definitely like the idea of starting the process of selling the towers. I don't like the idea of agreeing to sell them for this project. Specifically, I like the idea of seeing what happens with selling them. When we sell them, what we get. I like the idea of having the plans done for this. I'm more interested in seeing and bidding this with other people. Love for Juan to speak more on his pricing, but I'd like to see another bid or two for this. I would have liked to have known what the cost was to repair the benches as is or repaint, whatever. But I don't disagree with Director Carhart on the desire to sell the towers, but I don't necessarily agree with selling them for this and to pay this amount of money for benches.
So you know, Juan is joining its enforcement team.
So a little bit about on bid. Yes, we could bid. We are required by law to bid. We do have to follow the bid requirements for that. The simplest thing is it's a 30 days that it has to be out to bid. That's prior to us even doing the bid documents, creating the bid documents, and getting them out into the bidding world, if you will, and then they still go through basically you have on-site meetings with your bidders. That can be done during the 30 days, so it can happen at the same time. And Dave, if I'm wrong on some of this, kind of jump in, but I think I got most of it down. And then it does have to come back to the board for final approval for the acceptance of bids, of course. And so you could be on the inside anywhere between, I figured between July 1 and the end of July, potentially, if everything went smoothly, to have accept a bidder to start this project. And that's not starting construction. That's accepting a bidder. We still have mobilization, all the other things that have to occur prior to them starting their work. So
We still would have to wait though to get, from what I heard,
the construction documents,
as well as get the county to approve it, right?
and I'll have David Tim comment on that. Yeah. So,
Well, I think we've already determined the construction documents will be done in a couple of weeks and then go to the county. I think the downside of this second bid is there's several things. One, we're disrupting, once we finish the rest of the project, we're disrupting the use of the facility, as well as there's potential escalation in the cost of materials and labor in that delay. And then there's the cost of mobilization for a new contractor to come in. I mean, we've got a contractor that's all staged on the site. I'd rather see some very sharp negotiations with Bobo to make sure they sharpen their pencil and give us the best price they can, because I'm confident. My experience in construction is delay usually means more cost.
Yes.
Well, Director, respectively, I think there were a lot of assumptions in that, and it's a lot of money to make assumptions. That's just my overall view.
No.
Do we ever get Juan back? I guess not.
No, he wasn't able to connect.
Oh.
If we can't move this thing off ground zero, I suggest that we table it and have a special meeting in 2 weeks.
May I make a suggestion? If we're about a week away from construction drawings, we can present those to Bobo and get a much better estimate of costs from Bobo itself, as well as the major subcontractors involved. That might be a time to revisit and have the discussion again.
So let me ask Mike, the authorization to sign documents to start the project, what does that exactly mean? Can that be authorized without making a decision either on how we fund it, or whether we do it by separate bid?
What we've done so far, we can continue to do. You've authorized us to design construction documents. Those are continuing. That's what we can have in 2 weeks on the construction documents. Obviously, that's not permitting. But that we can have. Any other work, I believe, no, we could not do unless we had board approval. And number two, we had an agreement with the contractor, whoever the contractor.
So let's say just theoretically, like we were to push forward, move forward. When is this money actually? So when would this portion of the project start? Let's say there in the next 3 weeks. Yeah. When would this actual work start?
I'll defer to Dave or Tim.
The bottleneck will be Sacramento County, as we've experienced time and time again, and at the beginning of this project. They have taken weeks and months to review our drawings and issue their permits. It's very frustrating. There seems to be nothing that we can do to help them move that process along, albeit this is a much smaller scope. I don't want to put Tim on the spot, but I don't know if he has his estimate on what it would take to get back through county on this. And part of it is that it goes through so many departments at the county. It's frustrating to see their process and how slowly it moves.
So it sounds like, I mean, it would be months away before this starts.
Yeah, it's possible.
This is Tim Mathias. The permit process we'd anticipate would be somewhere between 6 and 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So if
See,
if you table the thing, one thing to consider if you do table this for another special meeting is whether when we complete the construction documents, you would also like us to submit for the permit at that time to keep the process going. That would be the other thing besides getting it to Bobo for pricing.
Yeah, see, I strongly think time is of the essence, you know. I would hate to table this because then we lose a whole month. There's a timeline to get this done within the, you know, the January 15th target, and that may be extended anyway. But you know, assuming you get the plans done and get through the process, whoever builds it, if it's going to be within this contract, it has to fit into the sequence of all the other work that has to be done around the access point, including roadway, the sidewalks, the grading, and all of that. I think that it's a mistake if we just linger on this. I think the big thing in my mind is what's it going to cost.
Right.
That's the big thing. If we want to put a lot of effort into it, it should be negotiating a price between Dave and Tim and Bobo.
Yeah, I'll make a
And
motion.
I've done enough big projects. I know that timeline is really important.
You want to make,
Yeah, we do have one here, if that's something that works.
Yeah, if you want to hear from me.
I think we're all over it. I think we're probably, it sounds like, Farrell would like Director Carhart to make a motion, and I think, board's probably ready to.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we authorize the district administrator to sign documents to start the renovation project for this seating area in the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater.
I'll second.
Any other questions?
Can I have a clarification of what this motion would entail and include cost?
Excuse me, when we're,
Can I have a clarification on what the motion is stating in full?
What does it mean?
You made it, Director. I just want to be clear what you're saying before I vote.
Oh, you're asking me? I would almost put that on Mike. What, by authorizing that, what's he going to do next? No, he's starting we're authorizing him to start the paperwork process to do the project, to do the seating renovation.
In my
Essentially committee.
in my board report, yes, we're committed.
So that would be per his motion, based on what you're saying, it would be committing to have Bobo do construction and then which we need to discuss the chairs, of which option the chairs.
Exactly. Yeah, you still have using the chairs. That's still coming. You have the high price chairs in the cost estimation.
So what I think Mike should be doing under this authorization is finish up the design, the estimate, the county process, and the negotiations with Bobo on the price. I think we'd still have to come back and approve the price, right?
You're going to have to approve the actual agreement with Bobo, correct?
Yeah, and at that time we could abort it if we want to go Raymond James way and get a second contractor.
Dave, and you can speak to this if I'm wrong. I believe that we can get to the place where we have the construction documents with the price from Bobo. You can deny that at that point in time and then authorize us to look at maybe bidding or not going forward at all. I think that's possible. Is Mike correct, Dave, on that?
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's what I mean by my motion, to get to that point.
You're allowing us to go forward with Bobo to give you the price.
Correct.
Why would we, I guess that's a motion,
Yeah, I can't do that without your authority. I can't.
Yeah, so I'd like to get, my motion is to give you the authority to complete the design work with Tim, complete any permit process, get a firm price out of Bobo, come back to us for approval to proceed or not proceed. Does that agree with your second, John?
That's fine.
Okay.
And if I may speak to that a little bit in terms of financing, waiting that long to finance, I would hope that you will give me a directive to look at the finance, and at least start the ball rolling there, so not starting the ball rolling after.
Can that be a second motion as to what our preferred financing would be?
It would just be a directive until you get the documentation necessary for a motion. So
Two of us have already
I
in
just-
concept approved selling the cell towers. What are the other three things?
hold on, tell me which way to go, because I'm gonna commit somebody to something to work on. I'm gonna commit the loan further or the broker.
Back to my original question, if it was to start in say 2 months. This portion of the whatever, $900,000, when is that actually due?
What'll happen, and Dave, again, correct me if I'm wrong, we get a monthly bill from Bobo. So it'll be rolled into one of the monthly bills as it goes forward. It's a variety of different things, but we'll be able to isolate it based on the project, correct? Just like we can. So we'll be able to isolate it, but we won't be paying them immediately. We'll be paying them as the work progresses.
Correct.
So we have a little time to get the money. That's the nice part. Not a ton of.
That's what I'm concerned
Yeah.
about. Is I'd love to see a much deeper analysis of how we're going to fund this.
Yeah.
This is, these little, couple sentences, and it's a much more complicated issue.
Do you want to see the terms of that? You want to see, what do you want to see?
Yeah, and I want to see different options.
I think the plan Mike laid out is we go for selling the towers. If they didn't sell right away, we could always do the borrowing as a short term. It would cost us 75 grand in costs. And then if we either keep that loan or we get the cell tower money and pay it off and pay the 75,000. That's what he explained.
Are you looking for me to go after different loan brokers for this?
No, I'm looking, I would just like to see a little bit deeper analysis, like what it would look like, okay, if we took the loan and then we ended up selling the cell towers down the road because we found a price that we liked on the cell tower. If it comes back at 1.4, that's a lot different than it comes back at 2. I mean, that's a big swing.
Right.
Now, Mike, did you say if that was the case, if we got the loan, but then we got the cell tower money or the Ami Bera and Padilla money, we could cancel or we could pay back the loan with no penalty except for the 75,000 loan origination fee?
Correct. And any incurred interest and things like that during that time, yes.
I'm not comfortable at all with the loan. I think that's definitely the wrong decision. I like the idea of now selling the cell towers and having that money going forward, getting the documents, the building, the documents for the construction, getting that through county and having those things happen at the same time. There's no reason they can't happen at the same time, but not agreeing, sorry, Juan, necessarily to giving them the contract. But I think getting the building documents to get actual bid, because I just don't think it's fair to be voting on something that's not an actual bid, honestly, and then not even knowing that we actually have the money.
Yeah, and I think that's consistent with my motion, that we do everything up to the decision to proceed with a Bobo bid.
I don't know, though, if that motion, Director Carr, really encompasses that we are focused and actively selling the towers.
Well, I could include that in there. I think Mike just wanted a directive on that. Can you move ahead with putting them up for sale without that being included in this motion, Mike? Or should we include it in the motion?
Well, if you're going to do it, because of the way the board report's written and for transparency purposes, I would prefer that you put them all together instead of rolling the cell tower sellouts separate without tying it into the possibility of using it for the amphitheater renovation.
Why wouldn't you want it
why do you believe that it should be one versus separate?
Only because of transparency purposes. What I asked for in the board report, what's on the agenda.
So in that case, my motion could be, direct you to begin the process of selling the cell towers, or at least putting them up for sale, and at the same time proceed with the, let me see what it said, proceed with the documents to start the renovation process, including the design and permit, right up to the point, and getting the cost from Bobo, right up to the point of that point, when we'd have a second decision as to whether to proceed or not. Is that thoroughly muddled? If that's the motion, John, would you still second that?
Yeah, sure.
I think we're all kind of beat down now, so
Okay.
that's the motion and it's seconded.
Should we have any public comment? Is there any public comment on this? I don't know if you're leading the meeting or during its
No,
management.
Delinda is doing it.
I don't, if there is public comment, please speak now.
Yeah, I just want a clarification. When you're talking about the Bobo, and you're talking about just the construction cost of the amphitheater, not the chair, that's separate. So Bobo is the grading, the construction.
Yeah.
Is that also include removing the benches, or is that removable depending on? And also, I was at a committee meeting last week that covered exactly this same issue, so I wondered, was there really a need to go to such an extent to describe all the issues again today? I mean, what was the authority of the committee? Come to the board and make their recommendation on the same issue, or?
Well, usually what we do with the committees is, and I'm glad that you were able to attend that one last week, it's kind of to almost vet the issue, I would say, among part of the board, which was John and myself, and then, but then the benefit of bringing it to the whole committee is that oftentimes, as you can see, each one of our board members has different perspectives and ideas, and so we get the opportunity to hear from everyone, and sometimes something is raised in a full board meeting that maybe was not, which is what has happened tonight. So.
And then I had one follow-up question on the finances. Is because of the delay in construction and everything, there's probably a loss of revenue that we won't be able to lease out the park and all that. So is that somehow incorporated in financials? I don't see anything about a subtraction of the money's lost.
No. that's an easy answer. It's no.
Okay.
No, we did not. We never based a loss of revenue when we closed this project. We absorbed that loss of revenue basically by not doing programs. It was like during COVID for us. When we shut down for COVID, we did okay because we didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah, we weren't doing maintenance. We weren't doing all those other things. So very simple.
Thanks.
Delinda, you're in charge.
To clarify, your motion is to proceed to sign the documents to start the renovation project, which would include finalizing design documents, having Bobo provide an additional and more detailed cost estimate based on the design documents, and selling the cell phone towers. Or begin the process to sell the cell phone towers.
Correct, and also to add to that, going through the permitting process with the county. Let's get started on that.
And then going to the county for the permit.
Can I ask a question? Hey, Tim, did the money that we signed the agreement for you with, does that include going to the county for permits? I don't have that document here.
No, there will be a scope change for completing the construction documents and going to the county for permitting.
Want to clear that up.
So should we take that out of the motion?
Take what out?
It loses time.
It's going to cost funds that we currently don't have in Tim's contract to go to the county for permit. There will be an increase in that agreement, that $9,300 agreement of capital Tim. to get this into permitting.
I thought you said to me the 9,000 or something was voted upon.
It was, but it wasn't.
That's just for the design. Any ballpark, Tim, on what the county process would entail?
I'm gathering that now with the consultants, so I can put that together for you tomorrow.
Can we include a not to exceed in this motion? To authorize Mike to pay not to exceed a certain amount?
I have no issue with, it's not gonna be an amount that we wouldn't feel uncomfortable with.
And you've already given the authority to sign those small change orders. So,
Okay, that sounds good. So, Delinda has restated the motion correctly, so including the permit process.
Thank you, Rob. And is there a second?
We seconded it 3 times.
Thank you. Is there any more questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Should be a roll call. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item, adoption of resolution number 051524-01, calling for the general election for 2024.
Yes, this is a housekeeping item. We want to all approve the election or stop the resolution, calling for the general district election. Solve the track and they require this from us. The resolution is attached. And spelled out exactly what district we'll do, what's happening. And by adopting it, we will be able to move forward with the election process.
Motion to, I make a motion to do exactly what you said.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so we will now, we are going to convene the Fair Oaks Recreation Foundation meeting without adjourning the Board of Directors. So we
I'll make that motion.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 8.2, foundation business. Sub 1, election of fiscal year 24-25 Fair Oaks Rec Foundation Board of Directors.
Yes, this is the time when you will elect your board of directors for 24-25. Typically, it will fall into the same configuration that you have for the regular board. And that will make Director Carhart the chair, Director Tanny the vice chair, and the others listed below. Donald Farrell, David James Irwin, Chief Financial Officers, Director Hospital Secretary. If you'd like to do something different, you can also do that.
I'll make the motion that we approve those officers and as just stated.
Second.
We have a second.
Do we have a second?
I thought you second.
Okay, thank you. No, I was asking, do we have a second? Okay, sorry. All in
Who's up
favor?
first? Aye.
Aye. We're not used to approving anything that quickly tonight.
Sub 2, approval of the minutes from the Fair Oaks Rec Foundation Board meeting January 17th, 2024 and February 21st, 2024.
There's one additional set of minutes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sub 3, approval of transfer of funds from Fair Oaks Advisory Board account to the Fair Oaks Rec and Park District General Fund account. This would be for resolution number 051524-02.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sub 4, receive and file the foundation financial report. And that's receive and file. So thank you for including that, by the way. I thought that was helpful to look at that. Thank you to Jamie. And now subdivision 5, adjourn Fair Oaks Rec Foundation meeting and return to Fair Oaks Rec and Park District Board of Directors meeting.
So moved.
Second. Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, we'll move to, item number 9, board and staff reports. We'll start with items from board of directors. Ralph?
The only thing that I want to convey to you, I was approached by the chairman of the cemetery board, Pete Schroeder, about their seeking more space for a cemetery. He was wondering if we had anything, and I raised the potential. I see Raymond James is chuckling, but I raised the potential of getting rid of the albatross we have, which is called Bannister Park, in exchange for to explore making that a cemetery and taking the funds from that to acquire a new park, which would be the entire campus at La Vista, buildings and grounds and everything, about the same acreage, and it'd be a lot more usable to the community than Bannister. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know I had broached that subject, and if anybody else thinks I should stop, I didn't commit the board. I just said that would be my personal preference.
It's on you, buddy.
Yeah, well, it could be a cemetery or maybe low-income housing if we ever got rid of it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Anything else, Ralph?
That's it. That's enough trouble for this night.
Thank you very much, John.
I have nothing to share.
I also have nothing. All right, Raymond James. All right, thank you. So we'll move to items from staff. Jen. You have anything?
Board Director Nick Davis, the Recreation Manager. At the April board meeting, Director Mounds had asked if we had done a recent survey of the Miller Park tennis courts and their usage. I just want to let you know we are currently starting that use survey right now to see what type of use is out there, whether it be tennis, pickleball, or just non-use altogether, just so we can have that data for anything we want to do moving forward. That form is going to be shared with staff so they can input what they see out there throughout the days, if they happen to pass it by and are working in that park for a project or a program. I do have that link if you guys want to share, or if you guys want to help us gather some of that data. It's not really cost effective to have a staff member out there all day for a couple of weeks, so this will be sporadically kind of gathering that data. So if you like the form, I'm happy to share it with you guys. That's all I got. Great.
Question. It's for you. How are we doing on the garden party?
I'll get to that in just a moment. I have a few things for you guys. The first one is after the gala this weekend, we'll be starting to think about our grand opening, which will hopefully still stay on January 15th. With that, we would like to start getting a committee together. I don't know if the Community Resource Committee would like to be involved, or an ad hoc of board members. I'll leave it kind of up to you guys who would like to be involved, but I'll start gathering that troop here soon, just to let everyone know. As well as we've been looking at our donor wall that will be inside the building. We've also been working at some ideas of possibly something outside as like an installation of some kind. I have some thoughts and ideas we were going to present, but we figured we might get the Community Resource Committee again on that to start to kind of move and shake ideas out to get some solid idea of what we want that to be moving forward, because it'll be quite a staple in the lobby if it's in that space, or if we decide to do something a bit grander outside, or maybe both. But I feel like you need your download on what you'd like to do with that. Just so you know, I think we'll probably do that here soon, next month or so, right, Mike? Yeah. And then our garden gala update, that is this Saturday, May 18th from 5 to 9. Numbers are looking really well. We're going to have a total of 120 people coming for the cocktail hour, and then about 80 of those people will be staying for dinner. So that's quite a larger number than we had last year. So we're really excited. We had a lot of generous donations. Thank you to our board members who have donated items to auction as well. We really appreciate that, and really looking forward to having a really great time celebrating the arts. I think our outreach to the community has been really great. Actually, from what we've been doing on social media, I got called from ABC 10 this morning, and they did do a little feature on our event. So said the mention of that. Sorry, my allergies are acting up here. And my last little update, because I won't see you until after it's over, is our Shakespeare in the Park will be happening at the end of this month, the 28th and 29th. So I've got the flyers. This is our partnership we're doing with Take Note Troop, which is a student troop that does Shakespeare in the Park. Those are my updates and questions.
Who did the design?
For this, or
No, for, the gala.
the Garden Gallery show that was Tom Beauchamp with Monster Design Co. He's a local man about town.
Did we pay him or is he on the committee or?
He's on the committee, but so he gave us a discount, but we paid him for partial of the services.
How much did we pay him for that?
I have to look at the numbers, but they'll be in the budget when we're done.
That's very nice.
Yeah, I know. I think it's something that will last a long time too. And just, yes. Okay, thank you guys.
Sean, do you have an update?
No, Director, I am going to be born tonight. I have nothing to add.
Great, thank you, Sean.
Move to excuse?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Delinda, for taking over the chairmanship tonight.
Come back next time.
Thank you all.
I'll be back.